Hello, everybody, and welcome to another conversation in our series on why Black Lives Matter. We are today on part 61, so we'd like to thank you all for joining us and supporting us throughout the conversation and the healing over just over a year, over 1 year period. I think it's probably a year and a couple of months now. Our topic today is around healing the core of slavery, and what I feel like is that we just need to kind of delve into it. I haven't really done significant amounts of research around it. I don't know if anybody else has done significant amounts of research around it, but I feel like at the core, one of the things that stood out for us was the issue of almost Black people feeling that other people are almost entitled to their bodies and therefore not belonging to themselves. And so, I think the core of it is just belonging to ourselves and healing into that space and kind of dealing with the remnants and maybe even the residue of what slavery has meant to us in our communities and our families. And yes, anybody else's experience in terms of the topic. So please feel free to share your thoughts and your experiences and any insights you might have into our topic today. And so with that, I'm going to open it up to the team and see how we progress with the conversation.
So when we talked about this topic, there was something that came up around here. I think that when we began discussing why people feel entitled to Black people's bodies, and for me, someone on my way to work, someone on the train, like a total stranger, I didn't even see his face, touched my hair, like it was like the most funny thing in the world. And I was like, not even bothered by the actual incident, even though I was shocked. I was like, well, why is my body something funny, something people want to touch, something people are curious about, contrary to people with straight hair. And for example, I was like, it doesn't even make sense. Like it feels like, it feels like having an out of body experience, and also feeling like you're not really in the world, and so the world sees you as other. And so it's really bothering me. Or it did, but I think it was for me what began the reflection around the remnants of slavery.
Yeah, as you said, that what came up was the video that Drake had shared about the upholstery chair, and they filled it with slaves' hair. And I always try to figure out why I was so defensive of people touching my hair when nothing bad was happening. They were just curious. And when I watched this video, I was like, this is an energy that's been flowing through African Americans for a very long time because they were used for their hair. Same with we've talked about the African American women who were used for their body. They used them for sex. They usually took the lighter skinned ones into the house and used them for maids and stuff because they found the more light skinned ones more attractive, and so then they had something also look at while they were taking care of their home. So really having to move through this feeling like we were only good to be used for in sex and in our hair and our strength, especially the men who are very strong and were able to do a lot of work in the fields and do stuff like that. And so I definitely have been moving through this energy myself of really feeling safe in my own body, claiming my power and really choosing to have God's protection. But I do feel that energy is still moving through the culture of African Americans of feeling like their body isn't theirs, and that it's not safe, and that it's only good to be, or its only purpose is to be used for whatever it could be used for. Yeah, I feel a lot of anxiety as I'm like sharing that with you guys. I feel a lot of nervousness.
Tell us what that anxiety is about.
Yeah, there's still just that feeling of like not safe and not like really seeing our truth. Feeling like we're only created for one thing, but that's not the truth either.
And where does your safety and your truth come from?
From God.
Right, it comes from God. And so would God allow you to be unsafe?
No.
And would God allow your truth and the divinity of who you are to be hidden?
No.
So what would God actually allow in your life?
Love.
Absolutely. And so is it okay to choose love even though other people are choosing insanity?
Yes.
And as you choose love in that space, how do you feel now?
Feel better, but there's it seems like this part of me, it feels like she just wants to like lash out at it, like I'm
And
definitely upset.
Is it okay for her to have those feelings to move through at this point in time?
Yes.
And could you give her some compassion in that space as she works through this?
Yeah, they choose to give her compassion.
And as you give her compassion in this space and just allow those feelings to be there, without resisting them, without wanting to change them, what do you allow her to do?
To feel her feelings.
Amen.
And I guess a part of me is like having to recognize that like I'm not being hurt or harmed in any way, and that it's actually safe to just feel through it and move through it.
Amen. It's always safe to move through your feelings and to feel them. And as you come to that deeper realization, what feeling comes up for you?
Like this feeling of being mistreated. Not enough.
As a child of God, can mistreatment or any other behavior from any other people change how enough you really are?
No.
Did God create an incomplete condition?
No.
Right. And so in your completion, is there enoughness?
Yes.
And as you allow that realization to settle in at a deeper level, how does that feel?
That's good, because it's the truth.
Amen. And so what has happened? Your truth has always been there. You've just needed to feel through your feelings to get closer to your truth. And so your feelings were actually very appropriate for you to have.
Yes.
How do you feel about that?
Feel good. I don't have to doubt myself or like question whether or not my feelings are valid.
Amen. Because the truth of it is your feelings are always valid.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Because if they were not valid, they wouldn't be there.
Right.
Right. How does that feel?
Feels good. I feel powerful because I can trust my truth. I can trust myself.
Amen. And you can trust God.
Yeah, I can trust that He'll always show me the truth.
Mm. And as that feeling of power returns, oh no, that's okay. The universe is just saying to stop, let's doing the topsy-turvy thing. you proper dropped some crap, and so the phone also just decided, well, we've had enough of that shit.
Thank you. Oh gosh.
There's no such thing as coincidence, right?
Right.
Right. So how do you feel now?
I feel good. I guess like that's one of the things that I need to recognize is that the truth will always feel light, and the lie will always feel heavy. Yeah, so I'm feeling much
and again, you had to work through the lie to get to the truth. So it was appropriate to be aware of it.
Right.
In order to move through it. So powerfully move through feeling your feelings at a deeper level. Well done.
Yes. Thank you.
Good. How does that feel?
It feels good, I guess. Just having to give me a second. I just release resistance here. I guess there's like a deep sadness of like a whole culture feeling powerless. Like it I guess it doesn't make sense to me on how like a whole culture can lose or let go of their power and give it over to another. And so there's like this feeling like I have to fight for my power. I have to fight to survive.
Right. So is there a part of you that feels responsible for a whole culture?
Yeah, I guess so. I choose to let that go because that's heavy as fuck.
Is it okay to feel your feelings and to have your part on this journey of healing? And to share that healing with everybody without being responsible for anybody else's healing?
Yes.
How does that feel?
Feels better. Yeah, because I'm not responsible for anyone else. I'm only responsible for myself and like loving and choosing my power. And by doing that, I'm helping others recognize their love and their power.
What you're doing is you're inviting them to claim their love and their power as you claim yours. How does that feel?
Feels powerful.
Amen.
It feels, I guess there's a part of me that feels like that alone isn't enough. And I have to, that's the part that has to be let go, is like understanding that that's not my job, it's God's job.
Right. And so knowing that it's God's job, Can you allow it to be enough for you right now?
Yeah, just allow it to be enough for me right now.
Right. And as you allow it to be enough for you right now, how much more of that feeling responsible can you let go of?
All of it.
Amen. And as you claim back your power by not feeling responsible for controlling things that you have no control over, how much more of your power returns?
All of it.
Amen. And that's what you said right at the beginning, like this feeling that the whole culture could have given away their power.
Mm-hmm.
Do you still feel that way?
No.
Amen. Because it's not possible. A whole culture can't give away their power. A whole culture just needs to remember how powerful they actually are. Just in the same way that you doing your healing was an invitation to other people to also claim back their power.
Yes. Okay. Thank you.
Good. How do you feel now?
I feel peaceful.
Good. Thank you for sharing that with us.
Thank you.
I also just want to check in with Yoreen, because there was a feeling of heaviness as you were sharing your story. And I just wanted to check in with you and find out how you're feeling now, having walked through that healing with Kanisha as well.
I feel much better. It's funny that she mentioned like a whole culture feeling powerless, because right now I'm in Guadeloupe, so French administration, French region, but over in the Caribbean, and I feel like people are appeasing the remnants of slavery, and I felt like for a whole week that I was like healing my culture, and like everywhere else in the world, they have this vaccinated, non-vaccinated debate, and here like it's mixed with something like, you know, because they tortured us and poisoned us in the past, they are doing that again with the vaccine. And so there is this like political, almost like historical hurt, like mixing with all of the debates about like choice and freedom that the whole world is adding right now. And so I was like, oh my gosh, the whole culture is like giving their power away and like then crying for lack of freedom. And it's really sad. And then I realized that when Kanisha was talking that, no, it's not everyone. It's not everyone. It's like about half of the population, the people, and that I don't have to feel responsible for other people's choice and other people's suffering, because otherwise I would be stuck here for a while.
And how does it feel to know that you don't have to feel responsible for that?
It does feel like freedom in a sense.
Yeah, and that's literally what you were speaking to, the sense that there is no freedom of choice, of speech, of any of those kind of things, which has been part of the core of what we're talking about today in terms of that core of slavery. Like so much was taken away. And so these things that are happening in terms of curfews and lockdowns and travel restrictions are really bringing up those remnants. So I feel like it's very fitting that we are now in the space where we can be literally feeling into it, as opposed to having learned the history of it, for instance. and not possibly not having been part of it, but learning the history and hearing the history and the repetition of it, I feel like this experience with COVID, whether we like it or not, has kind of brought us to the core of what those feelings actually are.
For sure, yeah. I was watching like documentaries about people going to Africa to these West African ports where slaves departed for the Americas. And I've been there too, and it's very emotional, like people cry and they kind of have this awakening. And now I realize that with all that we're living right now, we don't even have to travel to have to have this come up, and it's kind of a blessing that we have this come up right now so that it can be released once and for all.
Oh, amen. And again, it goes back to what we were also healing through with Kanisha in terms of giving ourselves permission to actually just feel our feelings. Like feel your feelings and move through it. But it's like you kind of really actually need to give yourself permission. And it's something that I've also worked through with my coach in terms of healing the energy of avoidance. Like it's okay to take the steps. It's okay to walk through the tunnel. It's okay to take that step, because every single step you're taking is going to take you closer to the exit of the tunnel. It's not taking you deeper into the tunnel. But we kind of fear it, so we almost do this duck and dive thing, almost like we're playing on a soccer field kind of thing, a football field, this is dodging and diving, and most times that path, the most direct path is the best path. But we kind of have this energy of avoidance, of not saying the thing that we need to say, or not doing the thing that we need to do. And so I feel like for me, this last 2 years has been kind of like that energy of almost being in a cave, because it's just felt like the longest winter ever. And like it's like now it like feels like there's more light, like the light is returning. But I kind of had to be in the cave and decide to walk towards the exit of the cave. Like take those steps, do the work, do the healing. And that's why I feel like, yes, we may not have liked how all these restrictions have played out, but they really took us into the core of what may have been some significant generational trauma. And even more so for people of color. Yeah, like I'm gonna just mic drop that and leave it with you guys and see how you feel about that.
Yeah, so I'm glad you brought that up, because I was having some deep upsets around some things that kind of look like history is repeating itself. And that's actually how cycles work, is that it has to be repeated in order to actually heal the cycle. And I feel that there are a lot more people now doing inner work or recognizing patterns and choosing not to play out the same pattern. For me, one of the fears was that it was when the vaccination cards came up, and like you couldn't enter certain things unless you had a vaccination card, or unless you showed that you were negative from COVID within the last couple of days. And what that brought up for me personally was a lot of stuff around the Holocaust, which doesn't affect Black people, but it does affect part of our culture. And so there was a lot of fear of like, oh my God, are we heading back in this direction? Would humanity allow this to happen? You see a little bit of separation already coming up with like those who are vaccinated and those who aren't vaccinated. Those who are vaccinated are very angry at those who aren't vaccinated. So there's this level of separation that's really happening here, that is being called to be loved and to heal. And so as you're bringing that up, I was like, wow, that's actually why this is coming up. It's not so that we can go back into that pattern again. It's so that we can heal that pattern and transcend it for good. So I do appreciate you shining a light on that, because that was something that I personally was moving through and having a hard time kind of seeing the clarity of like what God was bringing up here for that. But the truth is that it's only being brought up. The reason why it's triggering us is to be healed, to be loved. And that has to be looked at, not hide or run from it or fearful at looking at it.
Are you talking about when the individuals of Jewish descent had to wear the Star of David on their jackets? Yeah, I get that. But you know what? But you know what's so funny is that society at that time associated that star with such a bad thing, but people seem to forget that it's the Star of David. So, yeah, yeah, a lot of people are. I guess a lot of people are still healing through that because, wow, because it's the same thing with the vaccination cards. It's not a bad thing at all. It's not a bad thing.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, no, that's just like this kind of like just this feeling of separation a little bit. I've noticed it just like in my hometown, or when people post things on Facebook about like free choice and stuff like that. There's a lot of people who just are very upset with the restrictions, and the restrictions are guiding us to look at something, or guiding us to heal in that space, instead of feeling like we're being controlled or our good is being taken away. It's really looking at it from a place of love instead of looking at a place of lack. That's something I had to move through. I had to really release feeling like I could be taken from, which is where we started off here. It was feeling like our body was not our own and that we were being used. But it was really having to go into that space and heal from within first, so that I could make an educated, loving decision for myself. And it came back to feeling the need of feeling safe, protected, knowing that my good couldn't be taken from me, choosing to choosing to trust that my choice in choosing life was going to be enough, and really allowing myself to get clearer on my core values, really. And so it was like, okay, like if this is how I truly feel, it's safe to know that like there's one consciousness, and so we're all just moving through shit in the past that needs to be looked at and healed, because there's still a lot of hurt in those spaces. And if there's a lot of hurt in those spaces, then it means that there's still a lot of love to bring in those spaces. Just because it happened so many years ago doesn't mean that we can't still love and move through that space and heal it completely.
And I think you touched on something quite important, and it's probably something that's also kind of come into our awareness over the last few days. Excuse me. This this energy of residual resentment. That like we don't necessarily realize it's there, but kind of, and it for me it's kind of been playing out in my reality a little bit. Just encountering very resentful people, and it's like, well, like what is going on? Like what part of me is still resentful about things in general? And I feel like, and I think it's that energy that you were speaking to, Kanisha, of giving your power away by wishing your experiences away. Like we have experiences for a reason. Our experiences are probably a light on that path to show us where we need to take our next step, where our next piece of healing is. And so when we resent the experience or the people that were part of that experience, and we don't realize that we're doing it, there is this residual resentment, and it shows up in different places. And we all know that, because the fact of the matter is you become a vibrational match to that energy. So that's something that I've kind of worked through with my coach over the last, my last 2 sessions, just like healing this residual resentment that I didn't realize was there, but was showing up in my reality, and I couldn't for the life of me figure out why it is showing up. But it's kind of that thing of you take the step with this feeling so that you can get to the next feeling, so that you can come to a fuller awareness of what's sitting at the core of it. And so again, when you speak to things like what has historically happened, I feel like sometimes we learn the history and we empathetically take on residual pain that we don't realize we're taking on, which is why it is so important to give yourself permission to feel your feelings and to persevere. Because sometimes people have to ask you some seriously light bulb moment questions. You don't know that thing is there until that light is shone, and then you're like, ooh, authorize that cock, kind of thing. But it's that energy, right? Like you work through something and you get to a point you're like, who the hell authorized this shit? But it's just like, I think it's natural in our humanity to empathize with people. We don't realize that sometimes empathy, in fact, we don't realize that empathy doesn't mean being in it with them. You can be with them, but you don't have to be in it with them, which is a whole nother experience of empathy, because now I can understand your feelings and your perspective, but I don't necessarily have to sit in the energy that you're sitting in. And so because I don't have to sit in the energy that you're sitting in, I am able to also transcend it so much faster. And I'm also able to lead somebody through their healing path so much faster. But when you kind of have that energy of wallowing, and we're both having wooden spoons in the pot stirring and nothing's happening, right? Because all we're doing is circulating that shit inside a pot, and you don't realize you're circulating it until you actually stand on the outside of the pot and still stir, but you're not in the pot and being stirred. And it that realization kind of dawned on me, like when you really start to understand what things like compassion and empathy feel like, it feels very different to the meaning that we've learned. I don't know if you guys have ever really experienced that kind of thing, but you kind of transcend the meaning and you start really feeling what that thing entails.
Related to what you were feeling, I was feeling around responsibility and what it really means. For me, it played out as, of course, like not holding on to resentment, otherwise I wouldn't heal completely. But like seeing my culture and my extended family, I realized that it was also like people choose ego and death in one way or another, or they choose to let themselves die. And if they don't want to choose life, if they don't want to be responsible for choosing life and living, I can't do anything about it, even when it's family. You can only have compassion, and compassion doesn't mean like taking on their burdens. So it means realizing what is individual responsibility, realizing what are boundaries. All things that I'm sure a lot of people of color are learning or relearning, because oftentimes I feel like in our families and our communities, we are so like, there is such an energy of codependency based on probably like the trauma and the history that we share. You kind of have to allow yourself to take a step back and really realize, like, okay, what is truly mine? And what is truly the energy of another? And so I think responsibility linked with compassion are key to really feeling this, and really like letting people see that they need to claim their power for themselves, and that it's only in that way that they are gonna heal and gonna experience freedom.
Yeah, I think you've touched on a very important thing that that's also come into my awareness over the last few weeks as well, is just the significant amount of trauma bonding. Like, people bond inside complaints so much. They're like, it's literally this energy of, we're gonna draw ourselves into the drama in any damn way we can. Like a shitload of trauma bonding. And then when you start to transcend it, and you can relate, but you like, I feel like I relate very differently to people all of a sudden, because I'm like, good God, are you moaning about this again? Are you moaning about that again? Are you moaning about the next thing again? And I feel like sometimes it might come across as quite obnoxious and arrogant, but like, there's a point at which you cannot continue to relate inside of a complaint. Like, what do you have if you're only relating inside of a complaint?
Yeah, this is something that I've been moving through as well, like realizing that a lot of my relationships prior to finding the work was like based on trauma bonding. And it's been, I don't know, it's been different because I am starting to like lose a lot of friendships, it feels like, because I just can't really relate and I don't really want to. And so I'm in a space where I'm trying to like find out who I am and what I really like, and, cultivate friendships that align with that. And I've been getting told, like, from my old friends, they would say things like, Deanna, you're changing. Someone told me that I'm just so full of myself now. And I'm like, what? Like, where's this coming from? Like, now that I'm starting to love myself more and like put myself
for
first.
Deanna, be full of yourself, girl.
Now all of a sudden I'm full of myself. So it's different, but it's kind of like what you said. Like, I'm realizing those relationships were based on trauma. And now that I don't want to choose that trauma anymore, there's not much friendship left. And I can have compassion and love for them, but it's different from like staying in it.
You're not full of yourself. You're feeling yourself is what's happening here. That's the truth.
The people who always tell you you've changed are the people who want you to stay stuck and staying in trauma. So you should always stay away from people like that. Yeah. Have compassion for them, but yeah, that it.
Yeah, but it's also those people that have been benefiting from relating to you inside of the trauma, because they benefited in one way or another. There was like a very, very symbiotic relationship, that they were probably getting something from you that you weren't realizing that you're giving. And the minute you stop giving in that way, you've changed and you're full of yourself and you think you're better than everybody else. Well, hey, I'm inviting you to also feel into your betterness. How about that?
Right. Yeah, exactly. Like at first it was difficult because I'm like, where are all my friendships going? Like I'm losing all my friends. Like what the heck? But as I continue to go deeper in the work, I realized that I'm just evolving and coming more into my true and authentic self, and that's okay. So, yeah.
Absolutely. It's better than okay. It's what you've been wanting your entire life.
I feel like Drake has something.
Yeah, I mean, I've been working through like the trauma bonding thing and like releasing people in relationships too. Um, you know, when Granville was talking, like, they people have been like benefiting. It's kind of like, people have been like benefiting from your energy. And when he was like saying that, it was kind of reminding me of like, I I don't know, I just thought of um like since we're talking about slavery and the topic of that, um I know there's something here, I'm just trying to like say it, but there's a feeling of like white people were trying to like benefit from the energy of slaves. Does that make sense? I just feel like there's something here, and I don't really know what it is, but God kind of just brought that to my attention. So maybe somebody else has like something else we can go to in with that.
Maybe
Yeah, I
it's
think
like,
it's just in.
sorry.
Sorry, it's a it's the power. Like Black people are afraid of their power, and white people were afraid of Black people's power too. And it's just having to like claim that power, because like I said, there was not that like white men aren't capable, but um there I think there's something like genetically within the Black man that like they are able to it's like that instance like Black men jump higher, or they can run for long distance. Like there's something about them that makes them different from the white man. And so it's like, well, since they have all this power, they might as well do this for me so I don't have to do it myself and release my power. That's like the energy that came from it. And us not understanding our true power ourselves. And so it just came back to like really knowing the truth. But yeah, I completely understand what you mean there of yeah, that's really what it is. It's just coming back to like claiming your true power and not giving it away. One of the things that came up for me the last 2 days, because TikTok works its way the way that it does, but there was like three videos, not back to back, but like every other video where they were giving you a mantra of claiming your power back. And it was like, I claim my energy and my power back from those who don't have permission to take it from me, and be very aware of the people who show back up, because they're going to be like, where the fuck did your power go? Like, where that energy go? And you're able to kind of pinpoint those who try to take your energy from you without you knowing. And when I did that, I was just like, what the fuck? Like, it surprised me on some of the people who kind of showed up who aren't in this community, because a lot of people who are in this community really understand where their power comes from. And I think for us, we're very sensitive, like, oh, this feels bad to try to do that, or it feels bad to try to take in this space when I can just give to myself. But there was some like old friendships that were kind of like, hey, I just wanted to say hi and see how you're doing. And I'm like, no, yeah, we're not doing this. And really having to understand like the truth of your energy and the things that you attract into your reality. Jeff and Shaleia always say like, you're the only ones who can manifest or who can create inner reality. And so if there's something showing up that you don't like, it's a reflection of your inner reality. And just having to get really clear of, if I feel like I'm being taken from, it's because I'm taken from myself somewhere. If it feels like I'm using myself, I just worked through this with my coach today. It's because, or feeling like I'm being used by others, it's because I'm using myself. And I had to get really clear on where like I would pretty much like give to myself and then abandon myself right after I gave to myself. And like having that pattern of really staying completely present with myself all the way and releasing the pattern of abandoning myself, releasing the power or the pattern of giving away my power, and really choosing to make a new choice there. And I think that's really what the cycle of what's coming back up in our world right now is, having to make that new choice. We're getting the opportunity to really truly make that new choice and have the new world, like really have our heaven on earth here. And that's coming back to just individually claiming our power.
Yeah, and you know what? And I think what you mentioned is quite core to our conversation, in the sense that it was about power, but it was a complete misunderstanding about how to wield your power. And so power was wielded by subjugating certain people, and power was wielded by giving away your power to certain people. And I think the thing that you spoke to was that the intrinsicness of what your power is, and that misunderstanding that it just cannot be taken in any way whatsoever. Yes, circumstances were crappy. Yes, there was some serious shit in our history, but at the core of it and the truth of it is not possible for your power to be taken. And I think that realization is why we have things like claim back your power and those kind of things. The fact of the matter is, it's recognizing the intrinsicness, the intrinsic truth that your power never left you in the first place. You may have had the illusion of feeling powerless or weak or subjugated or any of those other fancy words that we use in those trauma bonding experiences. But the fact of the matter is, at the core of it, power cannot be taken away from you, because it was never given to you by somebody else. It is the core of who you are. It's the core of how you were created. And I feel like that is the core of our healing in the space of healing the remnants and the residue and the resentment related to what was restriction and curtailing movement. And again, the word subjugation just keeps on coming up. But you know, it's those kind of things. And I feel like with the work that we have done through Jeff and Shaleia's teachings, the core of it is this unique awareness that your power is not outside of you. And that is, for me, has been possibly one of the most profound lessons, for the reason that sometimes I ran away from my own power. Not that I didn't have it, that I ran away from it because my own power scared me. And then I go through an experience and I'm like, actually, I'm going to stand in my power no matter how the hell it looks. And so now you're the militant one, and you're the difficult one, and all those other fabulous things that, again, just tries to, like, almost tries to take us into that cycle of avoiding the core and the truth of the fact that our power is intrinsic and never was extrinsic and can never be shifted in one way or another. And I think that that's another layer of purifying our consciousness to realize the core of who we are, the divinity of who we are, and to realize our divinity. And nothing divine is powerless.
That's so right. And I think you're right that all of it comes from the misunderstanding of what power is in divine truth. And what Drake said made me think of, people that have this rhetoric of colonization gave a lot of benefits to everyone, like the positive aspects of colonization. And I like that we're kind of deconstructing that, like kind of like, digging deep into what it meant for people to have acted this way. And it makes me think of something a video that I saw yesterday about geography and borders and their history. And I think it's definitely on purpose that I watched that. And it was in the 19th century, Great Britain was scared that Egypt was losing power. And so in fear of losing power themselves with their partner, they took Cairo and transformed Egypt in a protectorate. Because Egypt was invading Sudan, Sudan became a protectorate of a protectorate. And so because of the fear of power, they invaded and colonized again after having done so for like centuries. And I think it's very powerful, like the fear of losing power and obviously a misunderstanding of what power is and how powerful we already are made people do this. And it's exactly the same when the trade routes were created. Like they were losing power and money. They needed a new trade and commercial route. And so they came to Africa and then to the Americas, and then the rest we know. But like so like even like realizing that is healing and purifying in a sense, because you realize that, oh, it was not the way. And it's powerful to realize that it came not from a positive justification, but from a fear of losing power.
Yeah, how's everybody feeling?
Well, I wanted to say that I recently saw like some people post on Facebook like pictures from when slavery took place. And so like it kind of led me to like explore that like in my imagination, because like we say these things like, oh, no one can take our power and all of that, but like just really like feeling how they would have felt like in that moment whenever somebody just walked up to a group of people and said, hey, you're coming with me, I'm putting you on this boat, we're taking you to America. And like, yeah, like it really does just feel like this deep rooted fear of claiming your power, because I feel like nowadays, like, sure, like, it would run through your head real quickly, right? But like, I feel like myself, I would say no. Like, I'd be afraid to like be shot or something, but like, I'd still be like fighting my way out, you know what I mean? So, but then I also recognize where I still have the same block too, like come up over and over again. So I really appreciated Kenesha reminding us that your healing happens in cycles. So you do have to experience it again. You're not going to experience it the same way that you did, but you know, you're going to have a new experience that leads you to the same healing. So that's what I really took away from what she was saying there.
Yeah, the card that I drew for us, it's a different deck. I realized I didn't have the same deck, but it's perfect. It's Crossing Bridges. And it says, it's time for healing, connecting, mending, and releasing. And she's like holding the light here, so she's just following the light. Yeah. Sometimes we have to cross some fucking hard bridges to get to the other side.
I like that because, you know, like when Anastasia was talking and like just feeling into the statement of claiming our power or taking our power, like something that kind of just stood out in my mind was, is it really either one of those things, or is it just this fear of actually owning our power? And so it's, you know, it might be a very hypothetical question, but at the same time, I like feel into the energy of it. Like,
for me, as you say that, what I heard was, I am fearful of owning my power and know that I'm going to still be taken care of by God if I do that.
Say that
Will I
again.
still be taken? So will I still be taken care of and protected if I own my power? Like, there's this feeling like if I own my power, I'm going to be harmed by someone else. But if I own it, well, is God going to continue to protect me and keep me safe as I stand in my power?
And
like
if you
feeling of
felt
not
into that
trusting.
answer, like if you feel into that answer, what answer do you get there?
Yes, I just have to trust. There's a
Amen.
lack of trust.
Amen. And I think that's part of the core of it, and it's something that kind of come up a couple of times, and I feel like that's possibly a place where we can go to on a deeper level in one of our conversations as well. It's just actually trusting God. And and the reason why I say that is because I think in just over the year that we've been having this conversation and walking this healing path, responsibility has come up so many times that it's literally like we want to trust, but we're not allowing ourselves to trust God enough.
Yeah, and if you talk to people, like I've talked to people who don't have a relationship with God, and that's one of the things they say. Well, if there's really a God, why was there slavery? If there's really a God, why is there? And so it's really having, I think that'd be a great conversation to go into. Because I know it's something I personally had to move through, and I did, and now we're here. So it's possible to move through it. Absolutely.
No, agreed. No, and so I just want, like, I really would like you guys to give some thought to this, and even if we continue to have some conversation around it in our chat, or just share your thoughts around what you feel the difference is between actually taking back your power, claiming back your power, and actually owning your power. And so with that, mic drop question. I think we've had a very productive conversation today. It feels really good. So it feels like it's a good place to wrap it up. How do you guys feel? Perfect. So thank you to everybody for joining us, and for everybody that has followed us in our series on the conversation of why Black Lives Matter. We'd like to invite you to like and subscribe to our Church of Union YouTube channel, where you will find all our previous discussions, as well as any other live discussions that have happened in the Unionism Spiritual Discussion Group on Facebook. And we look forward to seeing all of you next week. Thank you, everybody.